Kevin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so the Boy Scouts started in America in 1910.
That's correct.
So give us a little bit of overview of exactly what the Boy Scouts are.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, they were founded in 1910 in the U.S. They had been in existence in England before that. And it turns out that the gentleman who founded the Boy Scouts of America happened to be in England at one point, and was lost and couldn't quite find his way around. And a young man helped him get to where he needed to be, and he was about to tip the young gentleman, and the young man said, no, this is part of my service, my daily good deed for the day. And Mr. Baden-Powell said to him, it's an interesting thing. Why would you not like a tip? And so he explained about the scouting organization that he was a part of in England, and Mr. Powell said, oh my goodness, that sounds like a great idea. I think I'll bring that back to the U.S. and in 1910 founded the Boy Scouts of America.
So that's pretty much where it started.
Yeah, that's it. So, he brought it over.
And now you've expanded so much.
Yeah.
And in Littleton alone, if we get to Littleton
Sure.
specifically, we have 2 troops here.
We do.
You have one, I believe it's troop 1, number 1.
That is correct.
And there's a troop number 20.
Troop 20, yep.
20. And tell us a little bit about...
Well, in 1918, we founded Troop 1 in Littleton. And
so this very year you'll be celebrating your 100th.
This is our 100th anniversary. Matter of fact, right here,
okay.
I have a little,
oh, there you go.
Little special patch that's for our 100th anniversary, and I'll talk a little bit more about a couple of these other couple things in a bit. And not long after that, the Cub Scouts were founded, I want to say in the 40s, around there. And we now have 2 Cub Scout packs in town as well as a venture troop. A venture crew is actually the correct term for a venturing group. And we have had an Explorer troop in town in the past, as well as our Girl Scout troops.
What are the age parameters now for Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts?
Cub Scouts actually just got even younger. I remember when I was in Scouts, we started, around the 2nd grade, maybe 8th grade, 2nd or 3rd grade rather, age 8. But now it's starting at as early as age 5 and 6 with something called the Lion Cubs. And that's a new program that just started, I believe, last year. So that goes up to about age 11, about 5th grade, and then the boys can transition into Boy Scouts. And you can be in Boy Scouts as a Boy Scout until you're 18. 18. By and large, there are some exceptions for young men with disabilities that they can take longer, and they can actually be in Boy Scouts for as long as they wish. We have a troop in Fitchburg where there's actually some gentlemen in their 40s that are still Boy Scouts in that troop. We see them up at camp every once in a while. It's
very unusual. Okay.
Yeah.
And now starting next year, is it, you will be having women, young girls will be?
In Cub Scouts, that started this year.
Okay.
The Cub Scouts can begin to have young girls in their packs. And I believe you're right, starting next year, young ladies can join the Boy Scouts, or we're going to start calling ourselves just Scouts. We've heard that from our national, that where the name of our young people are going to be Scouts as opposed to Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts.
Do you have interaction, Kevin, with your troop and Troop 20?
Oh yeah, yes, quite a bit. We have had Boy Scouts. The troop tends to take on the color of the members or the leadership a bit, and some boys find they'll be easier to work with one of the other groups. So boys have transitioned in both directions. I'm a young man who actually lives across the street from me. I remember went to Troop 20 about 4 years ago and is now an Eagle Scout there. We've had a couple of boys come over from Troop 20 over to our troop, so it's a great relationship between them. When we go to camp in the summer, we go to a place called Camp Winoxet, which I imagine we'll talk about in a bit, up in Dublin, New Hampshire.
We're going to talk about that now.
Oh, okay.
So sure. you do a lot of, I've been on they have a great website. You have to go on the website. But from that, I took out some information on some of the other activities that you have. Why don't you start out with that one?
Okay. Every summer, we go up to Camp Winoxet, which is the camp that's sponsored by the Nashua Valley Council. That's the council, the larger group of Boy Scout troops in our area. And they have a camp up there that's been in existence since 1924, when the land was first donated to the scouting organization. And it's an amazing time for the boys. Up there we camp out in tents on platforms in different campsites. The campsites, by and large, are named for Native American tribes, except for one. And one campsite is called Rotary, and it was the funds to found that campsite and build it up were actually donated by the Littleton Rotary Club.
One of the many other things that they do.
Oh, they do so much for our town. And in addition, there's a climbing wall and a climbing tower that we have up there, and that was assembled and put up by our own Littleton Electric Light Department. Wow. So Littleton has had a lot to do with the upkeep of Winoxet. So as I was mentioning, we go up there for 1 week as a troop, and we generally go the week after for the 4th of July, and then Troop 20 tends to go about a month after that. And it turns out that, especially for Troop 20, because there's a number of boys that are involved in sports, fall sports and things, and that starts up just about that time. So they come with us. So we'll often have 3 or 4 boys from Troop 20 camping with us up at Winoxet. And a couple of our boys will like camp so much that they'll go again with Troop 20. We have a couple of boys doing that again this year. So we have a good relationship between the two troops. Yeah. We've had joint service projects. Every year we do 2 main ones together, service projects, and those both have to do with veterans in the cemetery in the area.
Well, certainly you're together for the Memorial Day Parade, and then you're assembling some flags down at the West Lawn Cemetery?
We set flags on all the veterans' graves just before Memorial Day. We'll do that the Saturday before Memorial Day. And we have a flag retirement ceremony on Veterans Day up at West Lawn as well. In fact, an Eagle project by Troop 20, one of Troop 20's Eagle Scouts, and we'll talk about those in a little bit, was to build a new pit to actually retire the flags, which is a great thing.
Yeah, and maybe every 2-3 years my flag at home rips from the wind, so I'm having to replace it.
And do you bring it to one of those boxes that we have just out here?
One downstairs.
And that was actually another Eagle project by one of the Troop 20.
That's the very one I use.
Yeah, and that box was assembled by one of the sons of a former Scoutmaster of Troop 20, one of the Caldenberg boys.
Okay. Yeah, but that website that I mentioned that I went into, it mentioned that you do winter camping, a canoe trip down the Nashua River. Yep. So many other things. You're wearing one badge there.
Oh, yes.
And then the Philmont.
Philmont. Well, Philmont's a special.
That's something else now.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So
those are jamborees.
No, the jamboree is something different.
Okay.
Something different. There are 4 high adventure camps around the U.S. Philmont was the first, and that's sort of what's kind of considered the pinnacle of scouting. I'm actually excited.
Now this is in New Mexico now.
It is. Yeah. Cimarron, New Mexico, and you go for 2 weeks and spend 11 days out in the bush.
Now, initially, is this kind of intimidating to some of these kids?
Oh, it's intimidating to everybody.
No,
Me
but
too.
11 straight days.
Yes.
And you're not home.
You're not home. You've got everything
you're in
that
the high
you need.
desert. The climate out there it's cold.
It's actually very hot. We're usually, it does get cool up in the mountains at night. Yeah. But so it varies. So we could hit 100.
But anyway, there's some intimidation here.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, when we go out there, you generally try to get there about 3 days early to do some acclimation to the area. At least we do from the East Coast.
You're much higher elevation.
Much higher. We start out
7,000?
at about 6,000 or 7,000, and the highest on the trek that we did when I was out there in 2015 was something called the fishing trek. And even though we called it the fishing trek, I think we maybe got to fish 4 or 5 days, but we hit Mount Phillips, which is a 13,000-foot mountain. We hit the peak of that. After climbing up one side of that, we thought we were going to die. And then we came down the other side. So it depends on the trek that you do. Some folks come up one side and go down the other. We went up the steep straight side and down the long switchbacks. And after we did both, I'm really not sure which would have been worse. Just the nice switchback hike, which is long, but kind of gradual to get up to the top, and then you're just about sliding down on your butt to get the other side. And that was the side that we crawled up.
You said
with
it was
our
Phillips
60-pound
Mountain.
packs. Mount Phillips.
Was that part of the San Cristo mountain range? I believe it's called out there.
I
couldn't
tell you that.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
But there are that's the second highest peak in the camp.
Okay.
In the area. We stayed at a couple of sites. One was a place where the boys could shoot black powder, 50 caliber rifles. They had a blast in it. And I have some pictures. In fact, I think there'll be some pictures on the website of these puffs of white smoke coming out of the end of these enormous rifles that the guys
saw that one, I think, yeah.
are holding up. We did some hatchet tossing at targets. We saw lots of mule deer, lots of things called mini bears, which are what they call their chipmunks out there, because they're a lot like bears. They'll come in, they'll steal all your food and leave. We were fortunate enough not to see any bears while we were out there, but that's a big deal out there. Every night, as soon as you get to your camping site, the first thing you do is get your food that you're not going to eat that night, and these things they call smellables, which are things that bears like to eat, like deodorant. For some reason, they like deodorants and toothpaste. So you put all those things into these bags and string them up in trees, so that you're actually on lines that go between trees generally. And that's the first thing you have to do when you get to your campsite at night, is to get your bear bags up. Then you can start cooking your meal for the day. And you're usually pretty beat, because we may have hiked, 8-10 miles with a 60-pound pack on your back that day. So it's
come on, guys, brush your teeth before you put the toothpaste in the sack.
Well, we do. We have this. There's another trick called the oops bag. So you have an extra carabiner hung up over that with a line through it, and then after you've eaten and cleaned up and brushed your teeth, then you put all the extra stuff that might be smellables in the oops bag and pull that up. So you learn quite a bit about going through about living off the land and being in the desert out there.
Do you want to pull this up?
Sure,
Kevin. I'm going to hold this for you.
Mm-hmm. This, right here, is a number of, hold it up a little bit more, is a number of badges and a special neckerchief that we put together for our 100th anniversary. These were designed, or at least voted on, by the boys in the troop. We'll start up here. This is a special badge that we made for our Eagles. Okay. So only Eagles can get this badge. Anyone can have this badge. This is a 100th anniversary. The boys liked the two of them, and we made a special version for Eagle Scouts. Those three colors, the red, white, and blue, are part of the ribbon that is on an Eagle Scout badge. So that's where that came from. Down here, we made a special shoulder patch to celebrate the 100th anniversary, and there's an apple representing Littleton, and that's a picture of Long Lake from the beach.
That's great.
Yeah, and then over here, this is a little view of Beaver Brook, actually, from the bridge at 110-2A. If you're standing there by the corner of Warren Street that goes down to the old Parley Lumber site. And then this is our special 100th anniversary neckerchief. Now it's folded up in a square, but it's actually a big triangle. And the moose and the Native American are part of our logo, our design, our shield, if you will.
Those are all great ideas.
Yeah, the boys
really
had a blast
are
doing them.
Yeah.
And this in particular is going to be donated to the Banks Museum.
Oh,
so that's why we put it in a nice what do they call these? Shadow box? I think that's the right word, shadow box for them. So
that looks great.
Yeah, you'll be able to see this at the Banks Museum at some point. Probably after our 100th anniversary party, which is going to be this summer.
So will they have these patches on their uniforms too then?
They do. I have one right now myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of the boys are wearing some of the other ones. We gave them out to them in January of this year. And the boys have to earn their first badge, their Scout badge, in order to get their green neckerchief. When they first join the Boy Scouts from the Cub Scouts, or just join, they get a BSA red neckerchief. That's what we give them, is a red one. Everyone can choose their own colors. We give them a red one, and then once they've earned their first badge, their first Scout badge, we'll give them their green neckerchief.
Let's talk about you for a little bit.
Oh,
let's talk about the fact that I've read, at least, that there are about 2.4 million Boy Scouts in the whole country. And I've read that there are thousands and thousands of volunteers like yourself.
There are.
Sometimes that might go unnoticed.
We're all volunteers. Except for, there's very few paid positions in the Boy Scouts. There are several at Council, which for us is the Nashua Valley Council, and they're headquartered in Lancaster. And then there are national positions as well that are paid, but most are not. In fact, things like the camp that we go to, Camp Winoxet, that we mentioned, the upkeep of that is mostly donated time. You know, the fact we just got a call out to us saying, "Hey, we could use some help cleaning up the camp to get ready for summer, and we're going to do it this weekend and that weekend. So if anyone would like to come up and help out, we'd appreciate it." So we can send folks up to help out with that.
So with your Troop 1, there's a lot of interaction amongst you and a lot of other folks.
Sure. When we do our local, you mentioned the jamborees, we haven't, well, not during my tenure, we haven't taken the boys to a national jamboree, but we have gone to a Massachusetts jamboree, and we may go again this fall. There's going to be the 2018 Mass Jam on the Cape. And that's usually a lot of fun. We go down, we camp for a couple of days. They have a lot of activities for the boys to run around and do. There's archery contests. They have done.
Is it always down the Cape, or it just happens to be down the Cape?
The last couple of times has been at the Cape. I think it can move around because I think they try to make it easy for different areas of the state to get to. They have rocket contests made with soda bottles and see who goes the highest, things like that. The boys have a lot of fun. Yeah, and there's usually music and jamming around that night, things like that. So they have a good time. We'll see if they choose to do it. That's another thing I probably should mention about the Boy Scouts. Even though there are adult volunteers, to kind of keep things sort of between certain parameters and to keep things safe. A lot of the activities are chosen by the boys, and they plan we meet on Tuesday nights. They plan each of our meetings. I have a patrol leadership council made up of my senior patrol leader, his assistant patrol leaders and assistant senior patrol leaders, and our patrol leaders that set the agendas for each meeting. And as a matter of fact, they also plan the outline of our camping trips each year. So we'll be having a big meeting in June where they'll be planning the camping trips for the next year. So they'll choose to do things like you mentioned we went down to the Cape. We did a biking trip on the National Seashore bike, or I guess that's the rail line. There. We biked on that and camped down at what is the camp down on the Cape there in Brewster? Nickerson State Park. I think that's.
I've heard of
that's it.
I've heard of it.
And we camped there. We just did a hike and camp at Mount Cardigan, which is a mountain sort of in the center of New Hampshire, and there's an AMC lodge at the base and an AMC cabin about 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and you can rent that cabin. We did. There are 12 bunks in there, so we hike up to the cabin. We stay there. There's no running water. We have to either carry that or collect it from a stream and purify it, and then we can take a quick hike up to the summit, which is a bald summit, and there is a fire tower up at the top. We were there in April, and if you do happen to show some pictures from that, you'll see the rime ice on the fire tower that's, I think, stretched about 2 feet beyond the metal. So it just gradually grew out, and it was quite the sight up there, even in April. So we did that. Where else have we done this? Oh, we like to go up to New Ipswich, to the windblown cross-country ski area.
New Hampshire.
For a trip. This is in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Yep, New Ipswich, New Hampshire. And ski out for the day out to their warming hut and stay overnight in the warming hut and then ski back. The boys really like that trip. They get out to the hut, they play cards and drink hot chocolate, whatever we happen to carry. Well, that one, not all on our back. That one, we actually do pull a sled behind us with a bunch of stuff in it.
You're having a lot of fun, and
you're
not even an hour from here.
It's a great place. Yeah. Great spot.
So, Kevin, any final thoughts?
Sure. You know, with this being our 100th anniversary, we have a little committee that we put together, and they're sponsoring an Eagle Project scavenger hunt around town. We've had.
Now, when is this going to take place?
This is happening. This is happening now. We actually had a little thing in the Littleton Independent recently, and I'll announce this as well to anyone who's watching. Anyone who's under 18 can go around and either take a selfie or some sort of a picture that will represent them, maybe a stuffed animal or something, near one of the 62 sites for Eagle projects in town. Now we'll have an email address that we'll show on here that you can contact and get this list of the Eagle Project sites. We've had 72 Eagles in Troop 1, and in 1965 they began the Eagle Project as part of the requirements, and we have about 62 projects in town that you can actually go see things that we have done in service for the town that the Scouts over the years have done in service for the town. And we've got some wonderful projects around. We've got let's see, some new ones. Oh, on Newtown Road, near where it becomes Goldsmith Street, there's a garden, a community garden there, and the fence that keeps critters out of that garden was one of our Eagle projects. Yeah, there's a wildlife viewing area on the Newtown Hill site. That was another one. Trail maintenance and building those little kiosks at the heads of the trails and some of the wonderful hiking trails that we have in town are Eagle Scout projects. And even some ones that are even more little different. We have one that rebuilt a barn, refurbished a barn that's going to be used for teaching disabled students about raising animals, and that's actually right in town here, right on the corner of Goldsmith and I want to say Worcester, one of the roads right over there. So. Yeah, that's there's some great ones in town that we've been able to do, and scouting's a wonderful project for boys and soon women to join. Keep you away from screens a bit, get you to experience the outside. It's a wonderful program. And they have your enthusiasm, and I'm sure it's contagious as heck. I'd like to think so. Thanks so much. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.